Hey, what's up? Welcome back to school, everybody. I'm your host, Scott Steen, lead handicapper at winnersandwhiners.com, joined as always by my co-host,
Scott Reichel, senior handicapper over winnersandwhiners.com.
There you go. And together we do it each and every Friday. We get together, take a look at the college card, tell you what we like. Sometimes we tell you what we don't like and talk about last week. So, yeah, pretty excited. You ready to get off the schneid, bud? It's been a rough couple weeks for you.
Yeah, I went from back-to-back sweeps to back-to-back reverse sweeps. So I guess we balanced it out in the way we didn't want to. But hopefully, the last 2 weeks I stated publicly I didn't like the card. I actually like the card this week, so we'll see what happens.
All right. And me, I like the card the last 2 weeks, and I don't like it this week. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. So just to recap, as Scott said last week, he was it's the cue ball. It's 0 for 3. I went 2-1. Overall, not surprisingly, after going 6-0 weeks 2 and 3, goes 0-6 weeks 4 and 5.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
He's 9-9. I have a 3-game lead at 12-6. Our farm play is our 3-2 after taking it in the shorts last week, and our consensus picks still are stuck at 1-0, and we have no consensuses, no consensi. Is that right, Scott? Consensi?
Consensus.
Consensus. We have no consensus this week either. So we thought we'd have one, but I threw a curveball to you and saved that pick for later. So, all right. And just to recap, last week I had the over in the Akron, Ohio game, over 59. I don't know where that landed at 77. What the hell did that land?
Oh, that was in the 80s.
Was it in the 80s? Yeah, it was huge. That's why it was 50 something, 30 something, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
JMU over Arkansas State. They played with their food a little bit, but they ended up doing just enough offensively. That defense,
they're ranked now.
The JMU defense, dude, that's the real deal.
And the offense is good too.
Mm-hmm. Not bad at all. And the Red Wolves, that's not a good team. Not a good team at all. And Coastal just couldn't get it going. Just couldn't get the cover. They got the win, but over Monroe. So I go 2-1. Scott had Air Force -10, a play that I also liked for the record. What happened there, man? Utah State? Are you kidding me?
Couldn't get a stop. At the end of the day, Legis was solid, and Utah State moved the ball a lot more easily than I thought they were going to. But, yeah, not a good showing by Air Force. That one was really a sweat-free loser because I don't think Air Force was ever covering at any point during the game.
I had that as a personal play. Yeah, that was awful. Then you had Buffalo and Biscuits and Gravy, or aka Bowling Green, over 54.5.
It was so frustrating to watch. That was so frustrating. So many overturned touchdowns. They faked a field goal. He got returned 90 yards for a touchdown in the first quarter. He got called back for a blindside block 20 yards behind the play. And then Buffalo ended up going 90 yards and got stuffed at the 1-yard line. And then Bowling Green, later on, fumbled at the 3-yard line. There were a lot of just really ridiculous things that had to happen for the under to hit, but the under cashed. So unfortunate, but it is what it is.
And then you had NC State -3.
I would have won if Leary didn't break his collarbone because they had a backup quarterback who attempted one pass, I think, in the entire fourth quarter, and they still almost covered, but they decided to not attempt a 50-yard field goal with about 3 minutes to go. That would have put them up 5. So, whatever.
There you go. All right. So, we're anxious to get back to it. We got each of us have 3 lined up for today that I have varying degrees of excitement about. A couple of them I really like. 1 or 2 I'm not that thrilled with, but we'll see what happens. As always, Scott, as our tradition, Loser's Walk.
Yeah, so first pick is going to be something that apparently I haven't learned yet, which is I'm going to fade a team that burned me last week. I'm going to fade Florida State again. I'm going to take Clemson -3.5 here at -109 on Bet Online. At the end of the day, I just think that Clemson is the far superior team in terms of talent. And I know we roasted him the entire offseason. Uiagalelei, not that bad this season. He's actually been pretty good. And Florida, wait, you were going to say something.
I was just going to say he's still not super accurate, but
no, yeah, but I'm saying he's been a lot better than we thought he was going to be this season. And Florida State, they started off the season well. They played Air Force, good. They played not Air Force, but Wake Forest, good team. They got smacked at home. They played NC State, and they lost to a backup quarterback because they did nothing offensively in the second half. I get the idea of Travis being fun he really makes some awful decisions in the pocket. I don't trust his actual decision making, and I think Clemson's going to get after him. But I do think when you're looking at the matchup here, you're going to end up seeing a spot where Clemson, who has won each of the last 6 meetings, ends up taking it to him. Florida State, I get they started 4-0. I still don't think Norvell's a good coach. I think Dabo's going to coach circles around him. Give me Clemson minus 3.5. This line just feels a bit disrespectful.
That Clemson defense is the real deal, too, by the way.
They had one bad game against Wake Forest, but they've been good besides that. And Wake Forest killed Florida State. Clemson beat them in Wake Forest. So I think Clemson's just the better team.
Yep, absolutely. They don't miss Venables. I think Venables misses them a lot more than they miss Venables as far as the defensive side goes. All right, Scott, I'm going to start off with the California Bears. Are they a good team? No, they are not. But we're going to take the team total over 31.5. And why would you do such a thing? Well, because they're playing Colorado, my friend, and this Colorado team is dreadful. They are dreadful on both sides of the ball. And you wonder why we talk about offense of a team that we're going the other way? Well, because more possessions for California when the Colorado Buffaloes can't sustain drives, get first downs. More possessions, more points. That's the way it works. So they're 128th scoring defense, giving up 43.2 per game, and they are dead last in rushing defense, giving up 303.2 yards per game. Scott, how is that possible? 303 yards rushing per game.
It takes skill.
7 yards per carry, a mark also last in the nation. Scott, are you familiar with Jaden Ott?
Not bad.
Kid from California, true freshman, averaging 7.2 yards per carry. That's 9th in the country. And this is a California team that's going to be able to run the ball successfully, I think, all afternoon. Opponents don't throw a lot against Colorado, although they still manage to suck. But the reason is, if you're averaging 300 yards on the ground, why would you throw the ball? Here's the deal: you look from 10,000 feet. The Colorado pass defense looks okay. They give up their 42nd in the nation in yards allowed. However, you dig a little deeper, you find out that they are 113th in yards per attempt. So while their rush defense is awful, their pass defense is not good either. I think we're going to have a lot of points from the Golden Bears. Give me California team total over 31.5.
Well, sticking with teams that have been awful for the entire season or lately, I'm going to transition to fading Michigan State. And I'm going to go with my alma mater. So you know that it's a very rare spot for me because I tend to fade my school. But I actually like the spot. I'm going to take Wisconsin -7 at -115 on DraftKings. How many millions of dollars do you think Michigan State's regretting to give, Mel Tucker right now?
Well, probably the
All
same
of it?
regrets that Wisconsin has to buy out what's his fuck?
Paul Christ?
Yeah.
Well, that's at least the point. Mel Tucker, defensive-minded coach. The defense has been useless this season. And Wisconsin got rid of their bad coach. And through one game, yes, I know it was against Northwestern, but the offense actually looked dynamic, if I can say that. Mertz had 5 touchdown passes in a game, let alone a season. I didn't think that was even possible. But Michigan State has been a train wreck, lost each of its last 4 games by at least 11 points. Michigan State offensively has been terrible too. It scored less than 21 points in each of the last 3 games, and it's also allowed at least 34 points in 3 of its last 4 games. Michigan State can't score. They can't stop the opposition from scoring. Other than that, they're fine. But the point is they're just not a very good football team. But Wisconsin seems to have finally embraced a somewhat modern offense from what I saw last week. They threw the ball around a lot. Allen's still a very good running back. And I'm looking at Michigan State. They cannot stop the pass. They're allowing 292 passing yards per game against FBS competition, which ranks 115th in the nation. Now, I don't like Mertz, but I'm hoping the 5-touchdown game carries over in terms of confidence. I just think Michigan State's basically an auto fade at this point. And Wisconsin, I think, is a bit undervalued because of how much Paul Christ held that team back. So give me Wisconsin -7.
Okay. There you go.
You have any thoughts on that one?
I think you're out of your mind.
Really?
I think you're out of your fucking mind.
Okay.
Laying 7 with Wisconsin, but
I think Wisconsin's actually undervalued now. I think they've kind of been. I don't know. I think it's a good spot, but it's mostly fading Michigan State. I think Michigan State's a train wreck.
one game does not a trend make, especially against Northwestern.
It's mostly fading 4 games in Michigan State. So I agree with that point. I just think Wisconsin's going to dominate up front.
Okay. We'll see. You could be right. You could be right. They could have be able to flip the switch there. Chris could be the entire problem. That's just not generally how those things go. But we'll see what happens. Scott, we're going to head to Tobacco Road to take on this North Carolina Duke game. I'm going to play the road team. I wrote that down. That's incorrect. It's going to be UNC -7. I had them at +7 on my sheet. I don't believe
I'll fix
correct.
that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I got it right there. I just had it on mine. This is a Duke team that people like. Well, maybe this is the year for Duke. They've picked up a couple nice wins, and they haven't been awful, but they've played one decent defense or one decent offense so far this season, and that was KU. They gave up 35 to KU, and a huge red flag, alarm bells, 5-alarm problem. They lost to Georgia Tech last week, and how about this for a little cherry on top? First week of the season, Northwestern, I think we agree how terrible they are. Duke gave up 4.25 passing to Northwestern. How the fuck do you even do that, Scott?
You get an early lead, and Northwestern has to abandon the run. But I'm pretty sure the running back Neal for Northwestern had like 190 receiving yards in that game. I think
that's
something
impressive.
like that.
That's impressive. Yeah, I'm all over North Carolina. I just think it's going to be too much offense at the end of the day. Yes, this North Carolina defense is dreadful. Yes, Duke is going to be able to get their points on the board.
They've been better lately.
They have, and I'm not sure that's an improvement or a drop in the level of competition. Either way, we'll find out. Give me North Carolina -7.
Yeah, I think if you think North Carolina is going to score 35 or 40, which they definitely can, I'm not sure Duke's going to keep up.
Right, that's exactly my point. I think North Carolina gets to 40 in this game, and I think given 7 at that point is a fucking gift.
Yep. And for my last one, I'm going to go with another favorite. I'm going to fade another crappy team. I feel like fading bad teams is probably worth it at this point. I'm going to take a team that burned me last week. I'm going to take Utah State -11 at -110 on BetMGM against Colorado State. Colorado State had one of the dumbest wins I've ever seen against Nevada last week. To go through the numbers, first of all, Nevada's defense, good or bad?
Terrible.
What if I told you Colorado State offensively scored 3 points and had 255 total yards of offense against Nevada, and they still won the game?
Yeah, I watched it. I was big on fading Colorado State in that spot.
2 defensive touchdowns, but the point is the starting quarterback for Colorado State is still injured. The backup had 2 picks and 78 passing yards against Nevada. So Fowler, Nicolosi, I'm not exactly a fan of. I think Colorado State's an awful team. They also only scored 10 points against Sacramento State. So offensively, not exactly working in any single aspect. Running the ball, I guess they're okay. But Utah State hung around against BYU and they ended up beating Air Force last week. The backup quarterback might have been the spark they needed. They got Legas, who's actually been solid. He can run a little bit. He can also throw. And you're looking at Colorado State. It's the fact the offense was so bad against Nevada and the fact that it was also awful against Sacramento State. I think this line should be bigger, as crazy as that sounds. Utah State was so bad to start the year, but they had so many preseason expectations. I think that their ceiling is just significantly higher than Colorado State. And if you want to go through some trends, Colorado State is 1-10 ATS in its last 11 games. I know it sounds ugly, but I think Utah State's defense could actually keep Colorado State in check, and I think the offense can do some damage with the ground game. Give me Utah State -11. I'm hoping they were just a late blooming team, and they're actually mediocre in the Mountain West. I think Colorado State's just absolute garbage.
Okay. Yeah, it's hard to argue with fading Colorado State. That is a dreadful. My God, can you imagine being in Colorado right now? Holy shit!
Imagine they don't have those 2 touchdowns, and Colorado State loses by like 10. Utah State has to be like north of 14.
I would think so. Yeah.
So I'm going to take the value because I think Colorado State got lucky. They had 2 defensive touchdowns in the first half.
Okay. Well,
there you go.
Fair enough. And I'm going to go back to the well one more time, fading this terrible defense of Charlotte. I'm going to take UAB Charlotte over 63.5. If you guys are regulars to the show, I've talked a lot about this Charlotte defense. They are dreadful, just dreadful. They are 130th in total defense, 131st in a scoring defense. No, I don't have a ton of good things to say about the UAB offense. However, I will say that the defense has taken a step back. That's normally a team that is going to bring a solid defensive effort, and that just hasn't really. They've had some blips this season on the defensive side. While they're still decent, they have got a couple of giving up 28 to Rice is not good at all, and that kind of stands out to me. I think this is a UAB team that's kind of middle of the road in a lot of categories. However, playing against this Charlotte defense should be just what the doctor ordered. Once again, Charlotte has not given up less than 41 points in any game this season. They've given up 41 three times, and they've given up 56 twice. So, yeah, that's how you get to be the last rated scoring defense in college football. And that includes giving up 41 to, are you ready, Scott? How about UTEP? William and Mary. So there you go. Not good.
I watched UAB last week against Middle Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
They absolutely kicked the crap out of them. They were up
Yep.
38-7 at the half, and then they just stopped caring because they knew they had the game in the bag. But 38 points in the first half against Middle Tennessee. They should probably score 30 potentially in the first half of this game as well. I think it scared me off that Charlotte was off the bye. The defense isn't going to save them, but you're hoping the extra prep time gives Reynolds a shot to actually play because we know how valuable he is to this team. So if Reynolds plays, they can probably move the ball, and this defense stinks. So I don't mind it either. UAB might score 45, 50 in this game. I don't think anyone would be surprised.
Yeah, it's a UAB team that primarily wants to run the football, and they should be able to have success against this Charlotte defense. They're 124th in the nation yards per attempt, giving up 5.6 yards per rush. That ain't good. I think UAB is going to have their way with this team. So I'll take the over 63.5 there for my final play.
Cool.
All right, buddy. Let's move on here one more time. All right, let's take a look. Any games you got close on that you didn't that might be you think might be a little bit of an okie doke?
There are a lot of very weird spreads out there. I feel like Kansas is like the automatic like public dog of the week because Oklahoma's just laying 9 after getting absolutely curb stomped by Texas last week. It's one thing if Gabriel was going to play. He's still questionable. It's not like he's been confirmed to play or not. So I feel like Kansas was definitely a look, but I thought it was too trappy and too absurd that I couldn't actually take it. There's no chance I'm taking Oklahoma. I'll tell you that much. Like that's just not happening. But I thought about that one. The Utah game was very weird against USC. Utah gave up 42 to UCLA. The defense looked cooked, and they're laying 3.5 at home against USC. I kind of lean to Utah on that one. I don't know how you feel about it, but a lot of weird lines out there. I just thought that it was definitely an interesting card for some interesting matchups where the spread doesn't seem to make much sense.
Yeah, we also talked about the as we went through our farm possibilities, we talked about that TCU game. I think you and I are both on the TCU side over OK State there.
I think it's just a good spot. Texas Tech moved the ball very well with a backup quarterback against them last week. Then again, Bean moved the ball very well as a backup against TCU last week. So, you can read into that how you want, but it should be a high-scoring, very competitive game. I just think TCU is the better offensive team, and I think they'll probably end up winning, but it was very close. I thought about maybe Texas laying like 15, but I didn't want to take it. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of that Iowa State team, though. Good defensively, though. Good defensive team.
I think they're the number 1 rushing defense in the nation, if I'm not mistaken. If not,
makes sense because Kansas State couldn't move the ball against them last week to score 10 points.
No, when you shut down Deuce Vaughn and
Martinez,
and you limit Martinez, you're doing okay. And that was a grind fest there. My kid went to that game. He was.
I don't know if he had a good time or a bad time because they won, but that must have been a painful experience.
He's
just saying 10-9. You got to pregame pretty hard for that one.
I'm sure they did. He's 25 with 4 of his buddies at a fucking away college game. I'm sure they had a good time.
Fair enough.
But, yeah.
You have any other games you thought about?
No, those were kind of the ones that we were talking about there. Let's
Those were the weird ones that I just was confused by the line on.
Yeah, there was definitely some weird stuff out there. I know you and I are on opposite sides of the Alabama game.
I'm not going to bet it it was mostly just everybody loving Tennessee, and I've seen this movie before.
Yeah, I know. I just think Alabama's had too many close calls this season. They had a close call against Arkansas. They had well, at least
They
for the
should have
first
lost to
at least for the
Texas.
first 3 quarters, they should have lost to Texas. Definitely could have lost to A&M quite easily. I just think this is just a little bit different of an Alabama team. I like this Tennessee team. I'll tell you what, if Tennessee can't get it done in this spot, they're probably never going to get it done with
That's
Josh
really
Heupel.
fair. Tennessee should make this very, very close and even potentially win the game, but maybe it's just reputation. I've seen Bama in the spot way too many times,
Yep.
and I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I know. Bama's down. This is the year for insert new team here. They're really looking good, and yeah, then Bama comes in and beats them by 30. Absolutely.
So,
And that could certainly be the case. I just think if Tennessee is going to ever take that next step, this is the spot. So that's
Tennessee's a hell of a team.
The 7.5. You know what? If you want to play it, fucking play it 240 plus 240 on the money line.
Yeah, that's fair.
All
Especially since it's a home game for Tennessee. You know, the crowd's going to be in it.
All right, let's take a look. And just one thing left to do, Scott. It's time to do it, buddy. It's Friday. Put on your overalls, climb aboard that John Deere, put your straw cap on, grab your keys, put them in the ignition, turn that bad boy over. Because once again, kids, it's Friday. It's college football. We save the best for last. It's time to bet the farm. All right. Scott and I being complete slaves to luck and superstitions. Neither one of us are putting our hats on until we win another farm.
We got to switch some things up. So
we've lost
there
2
we go.
straight farms. Now we thought about making better plays, doing more research, but we decided to do the hat thing.
Better plays. I got to win my own plays. Better plays. Come on. I got my own priorities to worry about. Come on, man.
Why am I asking you? Well, you know, and we've had these runs over the last couple seasons that you and I have been doing this, and guys will get
you have runs and free picks all the time. Like it just happens. You give it.
Yep.
There's so much volume involved. You're going to win some and lose some.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Anybody that watches the video, and I didn't even look at the comments last week, but if anybody gets on the video and goes, "This Reichel guy sucks,"
it's honestly fair. You know, you can do whatever you want. It's short sample size, but yeah, it's not been good the last 2 weeks. I'll admit.
Well,
you know?
I'm just saying you haven't been watching this cat for the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I'm just saying. You know, I never hide from bad results. I just give it out as it is.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, so let's take a look and see what we got cooked up for today. Oh, by the way, we did have a farm play last week. You and I talked about it just a little bit.
The offense was good. We just thought UTEP's defense would have a bit more for Louisiana Tech.
Yep. And they did absolutely have nothing for them. So, yeah, tried to fade that Louisiana Tech team, and they came through at a inopportune time for us. So that was that. But fire and fall back and reload and get ready to do it again. And that's exactly what we're doing with this one. Scott, what do we got? What do we got cooked up for today?
So we're going to go to a total in some action. We're going to look at Ohio against Western Michigan. We're going to take the over 59.5 at -110 on WinBet. I suggest taking it now because most books have 60 or 60.5. Bold call. I don't expect much under money before the game with these two defenses being involved. Ohio is allowing 38.4 points per game, which ranks 119th in the country. Ohio is also allowing 545.5 yards per game. Sounds like a lot. It's because it is. It's the most yards allowed of any team. Western Michigan, how are they defensively? Well, better, technically, not really. They're allowing 35.6 points per game, which ranks 107th. They got killed by Eastern Michigan last week. I think you could see a similar story here. And Western Michigan's also allowing 421.3 yards per game, which ranks 94th. I know Steen's had a lot of success taking overs with Ohio this season. The 17th Rourke kid's been decent at quarterback, but we like the offense for Ohio. Scored 55 last week. I mean, we think that they're a good unit. Defensively, both teams are useless, and they probably need us to suit up for them. So right. I'm going to go with the over there. 59.5 just seems a little bit too low with these two teams that are atrocious defensively. We think this game gets into the 60s. Give us the over.
Absolutely. Yep. This Ohio defense is just dreadful. They're right there with Charlotte, man. Those are just two peas in a pod as far as bad defenses. By the way, guys, I think I forgot to extol you to, of course, like, subscribe, comment on the video. We'd like to know what your favorite college plays are, so please let us know that. Scott and I have been thinking about adding a segment. We've tossed a couple things around. Let us know if you have any great ideas for a new segment. We've talked about having like the most disappointing games of the week. We've talked about doing what do we call it? Oh, well, we could do that. Picking out things that happened on the gridiron that we could actually do, like missing field goals and missing tackles and shit like that. So if you guys have any ideas for a segment for us to do, have a little fun, put them in the comment section. Scott, you got any final thoughts?
Not really. Looking forward to getting off the schneid. Hopefully it works out. But, college football, long season. And despite the 0-6 run, still 9-9. So I'm still
9-9.
kicking.
Yeah,
We'll see what happens.
You're good.
Long way to go.
Just like when I got down a couple seasons ago, you weren't exactly dancing on my grave because you know that just with a 3-game lead, that can evaporate in a weekend.
What is it, week 6? And there's, 12 weeks again? 13 weeks again? Because
Uh,
week 0 throws everything for a loop. I forgot the exact number of weeks, but we got a lot of weeks. I don't even think we're not even halfway through the season.
I think this is like right at halfway. I think this is week 7.
Okay.
Because they're one ahead of the NFL, and this is week 6 in the NFL. So
yeah, there you go. So still about halfway through.
you're fine.
There we go. Let's pick it up.
It could be a tie. We could both be 12-9 after this weekend.
Could be.
All right, very good. All right, guys, that's it for the show. We do appreciate you stopping by. As always, watching whenever you get the opportunity. Don't forget to check out all the other offerings here at winnersandwhiners.com. Scott and I doing our daily videos, of course. Every Thursday, a little show that I work on called Once Upon a Time in Las Vegas drops. So make sure you check out this week's episode, the show where you can actually get paid money to comment. That's we do a drawing each week for whoever comments. So get over there, watch a little bit of that episode, and drop us a comment. But that's going to do it for Back to School. We appreciate everybody stopping by. Appreciate everybody watching as always. And you guys take care. Good luck this weekend on your pros. Good luck on your college games, hockey games, golf tournament, Major League Baseball playoffs. What else you guys got? Tennis?
Yeah, you got a big UFC card this weekend.
Big UFC card. Yeah, whatever it is, whatever you're betting on.
Weekend, actually?
I don't know. You're the UFC guy.
I thought it was this weekend, but I'm trying to think if it actually is this weekend. Yeah, is this the big card or is this the week? Point is, there's a UFC card on. It might not be the big one, but there is a UFC card.
All right, Scott, the place to go for UFC information.
It is not the big one, but there's a card, so you got some fights to bet on. You got Wilder fighting in boxing too. You got some action.
All right, good enough. You guys have a great one. We'll see you next time. We're going to do without a close this time, Scott, so it's just going to be abrupt.
Works for me.
All right, you guys take care. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.